Hey there, Drowsy Historian here. Tonight we're not slipping into a library or drifting through a crumbling manor. We're marching. Not with glory or purpose, or even direction. Just forward, because that's what they told you to do. You're just another warm body in a scratchy uniform, handed a rifle, a number, and a handful of pills. Tonight, you are a soldier in the Wehrmacht, not because you chose it, but because you weren't given much choice at all. You march because your legs still work. You kill because someone shouted first. And you keep swallowing the little white tablets because stopping would mean remembering what it all feels like. Before we dissolve into the cold, the noise and the silence that follows, do me one small favour. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. It's so interesting to see who's tuning in from around the world. And if you'd like early access to more of these grim history stories, ad-free audio of the episodes, or just want to support the show, you'll find the Patreon link in the description. But for now, lie back, get comfortable. Let's begin. The line moves slowly, but no one complains. You don't either. Not because you're patient, but because you're too tired to summon words. The train dropped you here a few hours ago. The station was cold and choked with smoke. The platform loud with boots and dogs and shouted names that didn't sound like yours. Someone pointed. You followed. Now you're here, in this courtyard, surrounded by men who all look like you. Young, hollow-eyed, standing in the stiff silence of people waiting to be told who they are now. Your coat doesn't fit right. The sleeves are a little too long, but the shoulders are tight. The boots are worse. New leather, stiff and unforgiving, already rubbing your heels raw. You haven't marched yet, and already you're bleeding. You wonder if that's symbolic, or maybe just practical. Maybe they make them this way on purpose, so the pain distracts you from everything else. You shift your weight to ease the pressure. It doesn't help. A man in front of you sneezes. No one says, "Bless you." You inch forward, boots grinding grit into the packed earth. The courtyard smells like grease and wool and cold metal. A faint chemical sting lingers in the air, oil, gunpowder and disinfectant, layered beneath the sharper tang of sweat. At the front of the line, a table waits beneath a threadbare canopy. 2 officers stand behind it, each flanked by a younger man with a clipboard. The one on the left has a scar down his cheek and doesn't look up as he stamps papers. The one on the right looks bored, or maybe just detached. You can't tell the difference anymore. When your turn comes, the officer doesn't ask your name. He doesn't ask anything. He just glances at the clipboard, mutters a number, and points to a stack of tin containers. You take one. It's dented at the corner and colder than you expect. The lid sticks slightly as you pry it open. Inside, a chunk of grey bread wrapped in wax paper, a stub of sausage, a strip of coarse cloth you assume is meant to be a bandage, and a paper envelope, stamped with red type you can't quite read. It crinkles when you touch it. You open the envelope and find 4 pills. Small, round, white, unmarked. You look up, uncertain, and for a moment the officer notices you exist. His eyes flick to the envelope, then back to yours. "Pervitin," he says, as if that should explain everything. His voice is clipped, dry, mechanical. "For stamina. Take one with water before long marches." Then he turns to the man behind you. You're already forgotten. You don't know what Pervitin is. You haven't heard the word before. But you don't ask. You nod, because nodding is faster than thinking, and step aside to let the next man through. No one else seems confused. No one else hesitates. So you follow. You tuck the envelope back into the tin, close the lid, and move toward the wall where the others are gathering. A few of them sit with their backs against the stone, smoking or muttering in low voices. One man cradles his helmet like it's something fragile. Another just stares at the sky, his mouth slightly open. You find an empty spot and drop your pack. It lands with a thud. The bread inside the tin has already started to crumble. You pick at it absently, trying not to taste it. It's hard and dry and clings to your teeth like dust. You chew slowly, eyes drifting over the courtyard. A truck rolls by. its wheels spraying mud. Somewhere nearby, someone is singing, off-key, drunk or broken or both. You wonder how long they've been here. You wonder how long you'll last. Later, a sergeant gathers you all for a briefing. He's thin and pale, his voice hoarse from barking orders at too many people who didn't listen. You stand in rows as he paces in front of you, explaining routes, objectives, formations. He talks about discipline, endurance, loyalty. He says nothing about fear. He never uses the word death, but it hangs in the air anyway. Like smoke from a fire no one wants to admit is burning. You nod when he tells you to. You keep your face blank. That's what the others do, and you're learning that blending in is safer than knowing anything. After the speech, he tells you to prepare for your first march. 14 kilometres, he says. Easy. Someone laughs, a dry coughing sound. The sergeant ignores it. Take your Pervitin now, he adds, almost as an afterthought. 1 pill with water, don't be stupid. Around you, men reach into their tins. You do the same. The envelope feels soft and oily against your fingers. You peel it open and shake 1 tablet into your palm. It's lighter than you expected. Innocuous. It doesn't smell like anything. You look around. Everyone else is already swallowing. 1 man dry swallows it with a grimace. Another takes it with a swig from his canteen, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and exhales like he's done something meaningful. You hesitate for just a second. Not because you're afraid of what it'll do, but because you're afraid of not doing it. You don't want to be the one who falls behind, the one who draws attention, the one who has to explain why his legs stopped working when everyone else kept moving. So you tilt your head back and drop the pill into your mouth. It sits there for a moment, bitter against your tongue, and then it's gone. You chase it with lukewarm water from your canteen. It's done. You sling your pack over your shoulder and fall into line. The man in front of you is limping. The man behind you is muttering something under his breath. You grip your rifle and stare ahead. The gate opens. The road stretches out like a grey ribbon into the mist. You start to move. At first, it's hard to tell if anything's changed. You're still marching. The sky's still grey, your boots still hurt. But somewhere between kilometre 2 and 3, your lungs feel clearer. Your legs stop protesting. The pain in your heels dulls to background noise. Your eyes stop blinking as often. You start noticing things you hadn't before. The rust on the back of the supply truck. The wet crunch of gravel underfoot. The way the man 2 rows ahead of you breathes only through his mouth. Your hands tighten around your rifle, and it feels light now, weightless, like it belongs to someone else. The sergeant's voice doesn't grate as much anymore. The rhythm of your steps becomes pleasing in a way you can't explain. Mechanical, efficient. You stop checking how much farther there is to go. You don't feel hungry. You don't feel much of anything at all. The world feels sharper, but also removed, like you're watching it all from just behind your own eyes. Detached but present, awake but numb. They said the pill would help with stamina. They didn't say it would rearrange time. 1 hour passes, or maybe 6. You stop measuring. You stop caring. Trees blur past, fields become roads, roads become towns, towns become ash. You don't always see the fighting. Sometimes you just hear it, muffled gunfire behind buildings, distant explosions like a cough on the wind. Other times, it's closer. You see flashes through windows, shadows darting between barns. You fire when you're told. You move when they say. You don't ask questions. No one else does either. The blitzkrieg isn't a strategy. It's momentum. Once it starts, no one seems able to stop it, not even the people riding its front edge. You're not fighting a war. You're being hurled through one, like a bottle thrown from a car window. You're told you're advancing, that you're winning, that the enemy is disorganized, fleeing, broken. But all you see are empty buildings, scorched carts, abandoned boots in the mud. People who left just minutes before you arrived. Or maybe hours. Or maybe they never existed. It's hard to say anymore. Sleep becomes theoretical. You feel the need for it, vaguely, like you'd feel the need to hear a certain song again, but you can't reach it. Every time you close your eyes, they flutter open a few seconds later, as if someone tugged a string inside your head. The world doesn't let you drift. It stays bright behind your eyelids. The pervitin keeps your legs moving, your brain humming like a loose wire. When your knees buckle, it doesn't hurt. When your thoughts stutter, you swallow another pill. The commanders bark orders with more certainty than seems reasonable. They speak of objectives, of texts, of momentum, of discipline, but all you see is motion. Endless, insatiable motion. You march past burning cars, past dead animals swollen and steaming in the ditches, past fields where laundry still hangs on the line, gently fluttering next to machine gun nests. You barely notice anymore. You're too busy counting footsteps, not out loud, just in your head. Not because it helps, just because it's something to do. Your stomach is an afterthought. You eat when someone shoves food into your hand. Hard bread, tinned meat that smells faintly of rust. A boiled potato once, handed to you by a child with cracked, muddy hands. You didn't thank her. You just took it and walked on. Later, someone said she might have been part of a partisan family, that she could have slipped something into the food. You felt nothing. Just a faint soreness in your jaw from chewing too long. You kept walking anyway. The others looked like you, pale, sharp around the edges, their expressions locked somewhere between focus and absence. Some mutter to themselves, some talk too fast, too loudly, then stop mid-sentence like they've forgotten how words work. One man hasn't slept in 3 days and laughs whenever someone mentions home. You've stopped trying to picture yours. You're not sure if you remember the street name correctly, or the colour of the shutters. At night, when you're told to rest, you lie down on whatever surface is available, a barn floor, a patch of grass, the back of a truck, and close your eyes. Your heart still races. Your mind won't stop sprinting in circles. Sometimes, if you concentrate, you can feel your blood zipping through your arms like static. You hear phantom noises, boots in gravel, the scrape of metal, the dry snap of a twig beneath a foot that isn't there. You open your eyes and the world hasn't changed. It's just darker and colder and more silent than before. You start losing track of who's in your unit. Faces blur, names vanish. A man you thought had been transferred shows up again, covered in soot, grinning like nothing's wrong. Another one disappears, and no one talks about it. You wonder if he died. You wonder if he was ever really there. When the sergeant calls roll, he does it quickly, impatiently, mispronouncing half of them. You answer when yours is called. You try not to think about how you don't recognise the voice that answers back. The third day comes without warning. No sunrise, just a greyer version of yesterday. Your feet move automatically, stiff with mud and cold. You can't remember if you've eaten. You're not sure if you've spoken. You rub at your eyes with shaking fingers and look around. Trees, fog, uniforms, a half-collapsed barn slumping beside the road like it's trying to disappear into the ground. A bird calls in the distance, and for a moment you think it's someone screaming. You blink slowly. Your teeth are sore. Your fingers twitch. You look down at your hands, unsure if they've always looked this thin. You don't know where you are. You don't care. Not because it doesn't matter, but because whatever part of you that used to care has gone quiet. The pills are still in your pocket. You take another one without thinking. You swallow it dry. And when the column starts moving again, you fall back into step, like a cog slipping into a familiar groove. The road ahead is still long. The war is still going. And you're still walking. Because that's all anyone ever told you to do. You wake up standing. Or maybe you never slept. Your knees are locked. Your boots rooted in place. The rifle's still slung across your shoulder. Your fingers numb where they've curled into your coat. You're not sure how long you've been like this. Long enough for the fog to thicken around your ankles. Long enough for the sun to rise or fall. Or maybe not appear at all. Someone nearby coughs. Another man lights a cigarette with hands that tremble too fast. No one talks. Your tongue is dry. Your lips are cracked. You taste iron and stale bread, and something sharp beneath it all. Chemical, bitter, like the powdery aftertaste of a pill swallowed too late. You blink slowly, and for a moment you expect to be somewhere else, but the road is still broken, the fields still grey, the buildings still slouched like old men at the edges of your vision. You think you see a church steeple in the distance, but it might just be a chimney. You don't know what town you're in. You don't know if it had a name to begin with. The signs are unreadable. Either they've been blasted into fragments or scrawled over with new letters you can't place. Polish, maybe, or Czech, or some local dialect you've never heard before. It doesn't matter. All the villages look the same now. Half-burned walls, empty wells, piles of damp clothing left behind like offerings. The civilians don't come out when you pass. Sometimes you think you see them behind shutters, behind fences, behind crumbling brick. Faces, eyes, silhouettes that vanish when you try to look too long. They don't speak to you, but they watch. There's something in their eyes that doesn't look like fear of what you've done. It looks like fear of what you might do, because to them, you're not a man anymore. You're a figure in grey-green wool, gaunt and glass-eyed, boots stained and coat collar stiff with sweat. You're not a soldier. You're a warning, something that stumbles through towns at dawn, blinking too fast, jaw clenched too tight, hands always too close to the trigger. You think you might have smiled at a woman once trying to seem human. She backed away like you'd bared your teeth. The squad has shrunk. There were 20 of you at the start of the march, maybe more. Now you count 16, or 17. It's hard to keep track. Some of them left for reassignment, some just never woke up. One walked into a tree at night and didn't come back. You think someone reported it, but no one followed up. When you sleep, if that's what it is, you sometimes dream their names. But they're wrong, like you're remembering someone else's ghosts. You hear them whispered in a language your mouth has forgotten. Your own name has started to feel strange. Not wrong, just unfamiliar. When someone shouts it across a field or calls it out at roll call, you hesitate. Not because you don't recognise it, but because it takes a second to remember that it belongs to you. It feels like a label that was once useful, but has since peeled off. The man who owned it might still be in there somewhere, but he's quiet now, buried under layers of dust and repetition and chemical hum. You still answer when they call, but you don't always believe it's really you. Your legs move without asking. The road curves, splits, vanishes into thickets of frostbitten trees. You follow. The others do too. The sergeant points to a map, mumbles something about a checkpoint. No one asks for clarification. You're not sure you'd understand it anyway. One of the men, older, with a bad knee and a twitch in his left hand, starts laughing under his breath. He keeps going for almost a full minute before someone tells him to stop. You glance at him once and see his eyes darting back and forth like he's trying to read invisible text in the sky. The food situation hasn't improved. You chew the same bread you've had for 2 days, soft with condensation, from your coat pocket. You wash it down with tepid water that smells faintly metallic. The pills help. They strip away the ache in your legs and the weight in your stomach. They lift you just enough to keep walking, to keep carrying the rifle, to keep blinking and nodding and aiming when the officer points. They don't fix anything, but they make the hollowness manageable, or at least tolerable. You pass another town, or what's left of it. The rooflines sag like broken teeth, and the streets are littered with half-burned furniture and scattered pages of books no one can read anymore. A blackened kettle sits in the middle of the road. No one moves it. You step around it like it's always been there. A dog barks once from somewhere inside a boarded-up house, then stops. You don't know if it was real. You're not entirely sure you heard anything at all. At some point the squad stops moving. You don't notice until you walk into the back of the man in front of you. No one says anything. You all just stand there staring ahead. There's a checkpoint in the distance, or maybe just a roadblock, a pile of logs and sandbags, A soldier waves a clipboard and shouts something that might be your language. It sounds slurred. You blink again and realize your hands are shaking. Not from cold. From something else. Something deeper. Something that feels like the inside of your bones is vibrating, ever so slightly. Like the pill hasn't worn off, even though your thoughts are starting to dull. You crouch to adjust your laces, even though they're fine. It gives you something to do. The mud sticks to your boots like it's trying to pull you down. You think about letting it, about sinking into the earth and staying there. Quiet. Still. Done. But then someone calls your name again. Sharper this time. Louder. A voice with rank behind it. You look up and see your commanding officer stalking toward you, red in the face, eyes blazing with something halfway between panic and rage. He screams your name again, but it doesn't sound right. It echoes in your ears like it's been filtered through cotton or spoken at the bottom of a well. It takes a second to recognize it, another second to respond. You rise slowly, boots heavy, neck stiff, and nod without speaking. He snarls something about orders, about staying alert, about how you're not paid to drift off. You want to laugh, or maybe cry, but instead you just nod again. Because that's what the others do. Because you don't want to find out what happens if you stop. He turns away, already shouting at someone else. And you stand there, boots soaked, face slack, hands cold, name still ringing in your ears like a song you forgot the words to. You know it used to mean something, but now it's just a sound. Just another noise swallowed by the fog. You're stationed in a half-burned farmhouse for the night. That's what they tell you. Rest here, regroup, keep warm. As if those things are still possible. As if rest is something your body remembers how to do. The structure isn't much, 3 walls and half a roof. The kitchen gutted by fire, the back room blackened with soot. The doorway still holds, but there's no door. Just a bent hinge swinging when the wind shifts. The front yard is scattered with rubble, rusted tools, and what might have been a chicken coop before someone shelled it. No one says who lived here, no one asks. There are no bodies, but that doesn't mean no one died. It just means someone had the good sense or the authority to clean up before you got here. Or maybe the family ran. Maybe they hid in the woods. Maybe they were marched away like cattle and the house was left behind to rot. You tell yourself that's the likeliest story, that they left and didn't look back, that they're warm and safe somewhere. You tell yourself that because the alternative isn't something your brain can hold for long. You find a place near what used to be a stove. The metal is still warm from earlier use. Someone's fire, not yours. Your unit doesn't waste fuel unless ordered. You crouch beside it, grateful for the flickering heat and the illusion of shelter. The others do the same, finding space on floorboards that groan with rot or curling up in corners that feel slightly less exposed. There's straw underfoot, matted and damp, and the smell of smoke hangs in the air, clinging to your skin like sweat. You don't take off your coat. You haven't in days. It's crusted stiff in places, damp in others. You don't think about what it smells like anymore. You're not sure how long it's been since you last slept. 48 hours at least, maybe more. The pills worked in their way. They kept your eyes open, your limbs moving, your thoughts sharp enough to follow commands and aim straight. But now the edges are fraying. Your body's had enough. You feel it in your spine, in your knees, in the shallow pain that lives just behind your eyes. The fire crackles once and it sounds like a scream. You flinch. No one else does. Either they didn't hear it or they're better at pretending. You lie back, head resting against the heel of your palm. Your helmet digs into the floor. You don't care. Your mouth is dry and the inside of your cheeks feel like paper. You haven't brushed your teeth in a week. Your gums throb when you swallow. You close your eyes expecting nothing. And instead, you fall hard into sleep. Not gently, not gradually. One moment you're blinking at the rafters, the next you're gone. In the dream, you're home. Your mother is there, but she doesn't speak. She's at the window, looking out into a yard you don't remember. The trees are too tall, the fence too sharp. You try to call to her, but your voice comes out wrong, metallic, thin, like it's coming from inside a pipe. She doesn't turn around. The house is familiar and wrong, like someone rebuilt it from memory using crooked measurements. The wallpaper peels in places and the seams bleed. The floorboards shift beneath your feet. You walk down a hallway that didn't used to exist and find doors that open into nothing. Just wind and noise and a pressure in your ears that makes you want to scream. You think you do. You think you hear yourself wailing like a wounded animal. But then the sound reverses, like someone hit rewind, and you're standing still again, breath caught behind your teeth. You don't remember waking. One moment you're screaming at a window that won't open. The next, your face is cold and wet and heavy, with something that smells like bile. You're not in the house anymore. You're outside in the mud. The wind cuts through your coat like it's gauze. The sky is dark. You're on your side, one arm curled awkwardly beneath you, cheek pressed into gravel and straw. Your mouth tastes sour, like rust and ash. Your lips are sticky. You reach up and touch your chin. The crust breaks under your fingers. Vomit, dry, stiff. There's some on your collar, more on your sleeve. You must have choked at some point. You must have heaved hard enough to fall over. No one's nearby, or if they are, they haven't noticed you. Or they have, and they're pretending not to. You're not sure which is worse. You pull yourself upright slowly, spine aching, knees stiff. Your hands tremble as you brush straw from your sleeves. You wipe your mouth on the inside of your coat and immediately regret it. The taste lingers. You want water, but your canteen's empty. You must have drained it before passing out. Or maybe you dropped it somewhere on the floor. Maybe it was taken. Nothing surprises you anymore. You look around and realise you're only a few feet from the farmhouse wall. The window above you is shattered, shards of glass still clinging to the frame, like teeth. There's a smear on the sill, dark, sticky, not blood. Oil, maybe? Or ink. You hope it's ink? You don't look too closely. The wind shifts and brings the scent of smoke again, stronger now, mixed with something faintly sweet and sickly, something you don't want to identify. You stand and your joints protest. You sway slightly, catch yourself against the wall, and breathe through your nose until the vertigo passes. Your teeth ache, deep throbbing pain that pulses with your heartbeat. You realise you've been grinding them again, probably all night, maybe in your sleep, maybe during the dream. Your jaw feels tight, the muscles sore like you've been clenching through a fight. You roll it open slowly and hear a soft crack from somewhere in the hinge. It doesn't help. You pop another Pervitin tablet from the envelope without thinking. Dry swallow it with a memory of water and wait for the familiar buzz to settle behind your eyes. The others are starting to stir. Somewhere beyond the house, boots crunch in the gravel. A voice calls something muffled, followed by a barked reply. Orders, maybe. Or just noise to keep the silence from swallowing everything whole. You stare at the broken door frame, at the burnt edge of the wall, at the rusted plough still leaning against the fence post like it's waiting to be remembered. You wonder for a moment what this place looked like before you arrived. You wonder who woke up here last, whether they had breakfast, whether they planned to leave, or if they never got the chance. You shake the thought loose. You always do. The mud tugs at your boots as you move, and the wind carries the scent of something long since ruined. You adjust your coat, flex your fingers, and steel yourself for whatever voice is coming next. You don't know where you'll march today. You don't ask. You just wait for the command. Because waiting is easier than wondering. You pass through another town, or what's left of one. The main road is cratered and half blocked by a collapsed church tower. The bells lie cracked in the dirt, one sunk halfway into the ground, like it's trying to escape. Buildings line the street on either side. Shops, apartments, maybe even schools. But they're hollowed now. Shells with blown-out windows and soot-smeared walls. Laundry lines still sway between them, though there are no clothes left, just frayed ropes snapping in the wind. Somewhere nearby, a shutter slams against a wall, and you all flinch like it's gunfire. You were told the civilians would welcome you, that they would see you as protectors, saviours, brothers, reclaiming what was rightfully German. You were told they would offer bread, wine, flowers, that they'd be grateful. But there are no flowers here, no bread, no welcome, just silence and shuttered windows, and the sense that you're being watched from behind every cracked door and scorched curtain. Even when the streets are empty, you feel the weight of eyes that don't blink, eyes that don't forgive. You walk past a house with a front door still open, swinging gently on its hinges. Inside, a table is set for a meal that never happened. A chair lies overturned. There's a child's coat hanging on a hook by the door. No voices, no footsteps, just the creak of wood and the rustle of wind through paper. Someone behind you mutters a prayer. You don't know if it's meant for the family or for himself. Either way, it doesn't help. The pill is the only prayer you understand now. Then you see her. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, standing in the shadow of a crumbling archway. Her dress is grey, too big for her, sleeves hanging past her wrists. Her face is blank. Not sad, not angry, just watching. Her eyes are dark, her mouth closed, her feet bare. She doesn't flinch when your boots pass by. Doesn't move, just stares. You look away, then back. She's still there, and something in your chest pulls tight. You want to say something. Anything. You want to tell her you're not the monster she sees. That you didn't ask for the rifle slung across your chest. That you're just tired and cold and trying not to disappear like everyone else. But your mouth won't open, your throat won't work. You walk on. And when you glance back again, she's gone. You tell yourself she went inside, that she ducked into a cellar like the others, that she's hiding with her mother and her siblings and a father who will come back any moment now with bread and news that everything is over. You tell yourself that because the alternative, the one that curls in the back of your mind, like a forgotten injury, is too much. You don't want to consider the idea that she was never there to begin with, or that she was, and now she isn't, and that maybe it was you. Maybe it was someone wearing the same uniform. Maybe it was someone who took orders a little too quickly, or maybe no one took any at all. You march past the square where a statue used to stand. The pedestal is still there, split down the centre. Someone painted something across the side in bright red. You can't read it. You don't try. There are flowers at its base, wilted, trampled. You think they're real? You think you saw them move, but it could be the wind, or your eyes, or the pill wearing off again. Further down the street, a man appears at a window, just for a moment. An older man, grey around the temples, thin as bone. He looks at you with something that isn't fear, not quite. It's older than fear, more tired. He doesn't move, doesn't reach for a weapon, doesn't raise a fist, just watches, the way you might watch a storm come in from the east, knowing you've already lost the roof. You can't hold his gaze, you don't want to. It makes you feel like a ghost, not a soldier, not even a man, just a shape passing through a town that was alive before you came and won't be after you leave. The others keep moving. No one speaks. One of them scratches at his neck with dirty fingernails, eyes flicking toward every shadow. Another hums tunelessly under his breath. A third spits into the gutter and wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. No one mentions the girl. You don't know if they saw her. You're not sure if you want to know. The shaking starts again around midday, subtle at first, a twitch in your fingers, a tremble in your calves. Your jaw clenches without meaning to. Your heart thuds unevenly, like a misfiring engine. You slow your pace hoping it will pass, but it only spreads. Up your spine, down your thighs, into your fingertips. You know what this is. You've felt it before. The edge of the crash. The moment when your body starts asking where the chemical went. when it starts clawing for the ghost of clarity. You fumble with your coat pocket. The pill envelope is soft with sweat, edges worn. You slide one out with your thumb, hold it between your fingers for a second. Just long enough to feel its weight. Just long enough to hesitate. Then you swallow. No water, no pause. You feel it catch in your throat and scrape its way down, like sandpaper. You don't care. You just need it to work. You need the hum to come back. The numbness, the heat behind your eyes, the reason to keep your boots moving, even when nothing else makes sense. The snow begins with no ceremony. 1 minute the sky's dull and low. The next it's weeping white. It settles first in the creases of your sleeves, the crooks of your elbows, the folds of your collar. Then it thickens. The road disappears beneath it. The tracks of those ahead vanish behind you. Within the hour, there is no road at all, only a direction, barked in bursts, followed without question. You march because that's what's left. The trees blur. The sky remains the same shade of blank, and the cold begins chewing its way inward. Your boots crack along the seams by the second day. The leather stiffens with each step. You feel it flake, splinter, open. At first, the sensation is sharp. A bite at the toes, a stinging along your heel. But over time, it changes. The pain dulls, becomes distant, then disappears. You know enough now to be afraid of that. Pain is something. Pain means circulation. Pain means you're still there. Numbness means something is dying. Still, you don't stop. The pills won't let you. They wind up your nerves like string around a spindle and set you marching, even after the body has begun to fail. Your fingers are the next to go. You keep them tucked into your sleeves, into your armpits, into the waistband of your coat when no one's looking. You flex them constantly, like the manual told you to, though your joints grind when you do it now. One morning you wake and realise you can't feel your little finger at all. You bite down on it out of instinct, no sensation. You laugh a little too loudly. Someone looks at you, frowns, then looks away. No one wants to share warmth anymore. Not because they don't care, but because they can't afford to. There's barely enough heat in your own bones to keep the blood moving. What's the point in splitting it? Food becomes an afterthought. You gnaw on hard rations that never quite thaw, tearing at them with teeth already loosened by grinding and cold. You can't taste anything. You're not even sure if you're hungry. The pills blur that too. Sometimes they make your stomach twist like it's trying to vomit up nothing. Sometimes they suppress the emptiness altogether. Either way, it doesn't matter. You chew, you swallow, you walk. Someone offers you half a raw potato, and you take it like a gift from God, even though it freezes in your hand before you can finish it. At night, if you're allowed to stop, you huddle in pairs or threes in dugouts, carved from snowbanks. The wind still finds you though. It slips in around your collar, your ankles, your neck. It touches your skin like a knife made of breath. You sleep with your rifle across your chest, arms wrapped tight, boots on. You know what happens if you take them off. You saw it last week. 2 men who peeled their socks away to reveal blackened flesh, toes fused together, skin cracking like burnt paper. One of them cried. The other didn't make a sound. You think about your toes more than you should, not in a conscious way, but in the way someone checks for a wallet or keys. You wiggle them constantly, or you try to. By the 3rd day in snow, you're not sure if they're moving or if you've just convinced yourself they are. You tap your boot heel against the ground now and then to feel the vibration. That works mostly, at least until it doesn't. You lose track of time, and then you lose track of parts of yourself. The landscape is endless, flat, white, broken only by tree stumps and the occasional smouldering ruin. You pass the remains of villages no longer marked on maps. Smoke still rises from some, even though there's nothing left to burn. One house has been reduced to a frame and a chimney, and from the distance it looks like a gallows. Someone mutters something superstitious under their breath. You don't ask what it was. You don't want to know. Some of the men begin to stumble. Not from wounds, not from bullets or shrapnel, just from the cold. Their knees buckle mid-step, their bodies slouch against trees, and they slide down into the snow like it's a bed calling them home. Sometimes they get back up, sometimes they don't. No one stops. You're warned early. If you stop to help, you fall behind. If you fall behind, you disappear. Everyone knows this. No one says it out loud. The pills keep you moving long past the point of exhaustion. They trick your heart into beating harder than it should. They trick your muscles into staying tense. They lie to your brain with soft, convincing whispers. You believe them because you want to, because the alternative is falling face first into the snow and never getting back up. You take another without water, and your throat stings as it goes down. You chew the next one in half to make it act faster. One morning, or what might be morning, light and darkness don't matter anymore. You notice that your left foot feels different. Not in pain, not even numb, just different. Like it belongs to someone else. You look down and see that your boot is soaked through with a dark, syrupy stain that has frozen into stiff patches across the leather. You try to move your toes and nothing happens. No movement, no resistance, just silence in the nerves. You take off the boot carefully, bracing for what you'll see, but you don't feel anything as your fingers unwrap the crusted sock. 2 toes are gone. Not all the way, not yet. But the flesh is grey-blue, shiny like candle wax, and they bend in ways they shouldn't. You don't scream, you don't curse, you just stare quietly, like you're reading something in a language you've almost forgotten. You wrap the foot again and shove it back into the boot. The pain doesn't come. You almost wish it would. You tell the sergeant when the column stops near a frozen ravine. He glances at your foot, shrugs, and tells you to keep moving. If they fall off, we'll note it, he says, as if discussing a dented canteen. Just don't slow us down. You nod, because what else are you supposed to do? The march continues. You leave small pieces of yourself in the snow behind you, but no one notices. No one stops. You don't either. Because even now, even after everything, the command is the same. Keep moving, keep marching, always forward. The cold sharpens, then dulls, then sharpens again. One man dies sitting upright against a tree, hands still clasped around his rifle, like he's guarding something. They leave him there. No one even pretends to cover the body. He becomes part of the landscape, another shape in grey, another warning not to stop. Then one morning, or what feels like morning, with the sun behind thin cloud, you arrive at a major encampment. The shift is immediate and surreal. After days of frost and silence, the sudden noise feels like a slap. Vehicles rumble past on ploughed paths. Officers bark orders into radios. Loudspeakers crackle with music that sounds too cheerful for where you are. There are lights, tents, flags. Everything is organised, labelled, tracked. It feels like walking into another world. For a moment, you wonder if you've finally gone too far and crossed into some warped hallucination. But no, this place is real. The war is still real. It's just being dressed up differently here. The camp is a supply depot, or so you're told, a hub, a transfer point. The brass move in crisp uniforms, with polished boots, their collars stiff, their insignia spotless. They don't look like they've missed a meal in months. You're handed a new canteen, a new packet of hard bread, and a fresh envelope of Pervitin. No one asks about your feet. No one checks your fingers. You're just processed, glanced over and filed, like a crate of ammunition. A number is written on your sleeve in chalk. It smudges almost immediately. No one rewrites it. You're told you're part of something great, that the Reich is a machine of iron and fire, fueled by discipline, loyalty, and the divine inevitability of victory. You nod along. You've gotten good at nodding. Around the perimeter of the depot, posters are nailed to walls and fences. They show smiling soldiers, fists raised in triumph, tanks rolling over map lines, eagles swooping with banners in their talons. Strength, resolve, glory. You stare at them for a moment too long, trying to match the image with the shape of your own reflection in a puddle. It doesn't line up. One of your friends from early training is still with you, Erich, thin-faced and quick-witted, though his wit has dulled in recent days. You haven't heard him say anything more than 2 words at a time since the 3rd snow march. His left eye twitches constantly now. He's been pissing blood for 2 days. You saw the colour yourself when he stumbled behind a shed and left a pink smear in the snow. You didn't say anything. He didn't either. There's nothing to say. He hasn't slept in 5. Not really. Just short stints of unconsciousness where his body slumps against a post or his head drops during a meal. When he jerks awake, he doesn't ask what he missed. He already knows the answer. More of the same. Always more. He takes the pills twice as often now, sometimes 3 at a time. You stopped keeping track. You watch his fingers tremble, his eyelids flutter, his skin go pale and waxy like melting candle flesh. You wonder how long he has left. You wonder how long you do. At the edge of camp, near the officer's tent, a colonel arrives by truck. The brass scurry to attention. The rest of you fall in line behind them, automatic and clumsy, your postures jagged from weeks of strain. The colonel steps out with the ease of a man who hasn't walked more than 20 metres, unaided in a year. His coat is pristine. His boots reflect the sunlight. He doesn't look at you. He just raises a gloved hand in acknowledgement and moves down the line, his adjutants trailing close behind, like shadows trained to obey. Erich is 2 men down from you. When the colonel passes, he snaps into a salute. Not quite clean, but close enough. His arm trembles as he holds it. His jaw clenches. Then midway through the motion, something in his chest gives out. You see it before you hear it. The slump of his shoulders, the way his knees fold, the soft exhale from his lips as he falls. His hand still hangs near his temple as he hits the ground, like he's trying to finish the gesture, even in collapse. No one rushes to help. 2 guards step forward, lift him by the arms, and drag him off the main path like he spilled equipment. His boots leave twin grooves in the dirt, carving a record of failure no one will read. The colonel doesn't stop walking. The officers keep moving. Someone says something about heat stroke. Someone else mutters a warning about disciplinary fatigue. You don't ask, you don't speak. You just watch the dust settle where he fell. Later, when the roll is called, Erich's name is skipped, not crossed out, not acknowledged, just omitted, like a page torn from a book. You look around and wonder how many others are missing. Not dead, not honoured, just erased. Forgotten by men in clean uniforms and crisp language who keep the machine running as if its parts never break. You were never meant to be a person in this war. Just a function. Just a line item in a report that reads, supply levels stable, troop morale satisfactory, forward motion maintained. You eat your bread slowly, not because you want to savour it, but because chewing distracts your jaw from grinding. Your back aches, your foot pulses where your toes have begun to die. You haven't felt your right pinky in hours, but the pill still does its work. It buzzes through your bloodstream like a signal through wire, animating what little remains of your resolve. When the order comes to move again, you don't ask where. You don't ask who's still with you. You just stand, adjust your pack, and swallow another tablet. The marching continues. Another forest, another village name no one can pronounce. The snow has thinned into patches now, hard and grey at the edges, like old scabs left to dry in the sun. The orders are vague, but the intent is clear. Your unit is to clear the next village. The officer says it flatly, like he's describing the weather or an inventory list. Partisan activity are reported, he says. Expect resistance. But he doesn't sound like he expects anything at all. The village is small, barely more than a dozen structures clustered around a central well. There's no gunfire, no screaming, no one runs. If there are partisans here, they're hiding, or they've already moved on. The fields are fallow, the fence is sagging. Smoke curls gently from 2 chimneys, but no one stands in the street. The few who emerge when the trucks pull in do so, slowly, warily, hands visible, faces blank. They don't speak. They don't beg. You realise watching them that they've been through this before. Your commanding officer walks ahead with a swagger he didn't earn. He points, barks, directs the squad to fan out and search the houses. Weapons, contraband, radios, he mutters. Don't waste time. The others move quickly, shoulders tight, boots heavy on the packed dirt. You follow, rifle raised but limp in your hands, not because you think you'll need it, but because you don't know what else to do with your fingers anymore. The first house is empty. The second has an old man and a younger woman, who might be his daughter or granddaughter or wife. The distinction no longer matters. They raise their hands when you enter, back into a corner without being told. The old man smells like wood smoke and fear. The woman stares straight ahead. You say nothing. You don't know what you could say that wouldn't sound like a threat. You sweep the house quickly. Kitchen, cellar, loft. There's a broken radio on the table, but it hasn't worked in years. You leave it untouched. Outside, things change. The sergeant calls out. Something's been found. A crate buried beneath a floorboard. Rifles wrapped in oiled cloth. Someone says there's dynamite too. Another man finds a list of names written in Cyrillic. No one checks what it actually says. No one waits for translation. The decision is made. The village is now hostile. The civilians are suspects. Partisan collaborators. That's the phrase. It rolls off the tongue too easily. You help round them up. 15, maybe 20 people. Men, women, one boy no older than 12. You herd them into the square like livestock. They don't resist. One woman cries. A man limps as he walks, favouring a leg that was probably shattered years ago. The officer barks at them, asking questions they don't understand or won't answer. His voice grows louder. He strikes one of them. You flinch. No one else does. You're not sure when things escalate. Maybe they were always meant to. Someone fires a shot. You don't see who. It doesn't matter. The shouting begins. The formation tightens. The rifles raise. You feel your own hands lifting your weapon. Feel the cold metal of the trigger beneath your finger. But everything slows. Sound drains from the world. You hear your breath. You feel your heart thudding behind your eyes. The boy looks up. His mouth is open. He's saying something. It doesn't register. You don't remember what happens next. Not clearly. Flashes maybe. Noise, motion, dust rising. The officer yelling something you can't make out. A figure collapsing. A dog barking in the distance. Your hands shaking. The crunch of boots over something soft. You might have pulled the trigger. You might have stood there frozen. Either way, no one notices. Either way, you're handed 2 more tablets after it's over. One for endurance, one for amnesia. You take them both. Not because you want to, not because they help, but because they're offered and you're expected to. That's the deal. You do what you're told, and in return, they give you something to keep you going. Something to blur the edges. Something to push the questions just far enough away that you can still hold your rifle with a steady grip, at least most of the time. The village is silent again, the same way it was when you arrived. You sit on a low stone wall near the well and try to remember what the officer said when the first shot rang out. Something about protocol, or justice, or cleansing. The words don't matter. They were never meant for you. They were for the record, for anyone listening, for a report that will never mention names, only numbers. Seized weapons, confirmed partisans, operation successful, forward movement maintained. You wonder what the villagers thought of you in those last moments, whether they saw a man in a uniform or just a shadow, whether they hated you or pitied you or saw through you entirely, recognised the emptiness behind your eyes, the stiffness in your posture, the way your hands trembled even when your face stayed still. You don't think they screamed, at least not loudly. You hope they didn't. That's the kind of detail that sticks. You stand up slowly, knees creaking. The pills are beginning to hit. Your vision sharpens slightly. Your heartbeat evens out. The headache that's been growing behind your temples recedes to a low hum. You close your eyes and breathe in the smell of dust, gun oil, and something else. Something burnt and organic that clings to your coat like guilt. When you open your eyes again, the square is still empty. The bodies are gone, or moved, or maybe they weren't real. Maybe none of this was. You don't notice the envelope is empty until your fingers come back up without anything in them. Just a crease of paper. No pill, no second chance. You blink, rub your fingers together, and check again. Flattening the envelope, folding it backwards, shaking it once or twice like maybe the tablet's stuck in the seam. But it's not, it's gone. Your heart kicks once behind your ribs. Not hard, but enough to make your shoulders stiffen. You check your coat pocket, then your inner flap, then the cuff where you sometimes hide one just in case. All of them are empty. You tap your chest like you might feel a hidden weight tucked somewhere deep. Nothing. You think back. You were rationing. You swore you had one more. Maybe you took it already. Maybe it slipped out in the snow. Maybe your hands weren't as steady as you thought when you last reached for one. You glance around. The squad is huddled near the tree line, most of them crouched low, arms folded, breath fogging. A few chew-dry rations, with jaws too tight, eyes too wide. You walk over to Lechner. He's been hoarding his, you think, or at least better at stretching them. You squat beside him, voice low. Got one left? You ask. He doesn't answer at first, just stares at the snow. Then he shakes his head slowly. Finished yesterday. You ask Müller, then Brandt, then the medic. All the same answer. They're out too. Someone adds that the last crate from the depot was short. The sergeant muttered about delays, shrugged it off, said the next one was coming in 2 days. That was 3 days ago. You sit down hard in the snow. Your legs don't bend right. Your feet feel like they're made of wood and twine. You feel something unspool quietly behind your eyes. No one speaks again for a while. Everyone's heard the same news. The silence becomes something shared, something heavier than sound. The first day without pills feels like being wrapped in damp wool. You move slower, but your mind doesn't. Your thoughts still race, except now they have nowhere to go. You start second-guessing your breathing. Your hands clench on their own. Your skin itches beneath the uniform. You try to eat but gag on the first bite. The bread tastes like sawdust and rust. You swallow it anyway. There's no more coming. That night, the dreams return. Not full scenes, just noise and colour and pain. Screams layered over trees, layered over fire. You wake with your face pressed to your forearm and don't remember falling asleep. Someone's moaning near the edge of the camp. Not hurt, just scared, just coming apart. By the second day, the squad starts unravelling in ways no one can ignore. Gutner yells at a tree. Bauer tears his blanket in half, convinced it's crawling with lice, even though there's nothing there. You catch Lechner scratching at his neck until it bleeds. No one intervenes. They're too busy with their own descent. Your joints ache like they've been filled with gravel. Your vision doubles when you stand too fast. Your gums throb. You chew on your sleeve to stop grinding your teeth. The sergeant pretends not to see it. He walks slower. He gives fewer orders. He doesn't mention the pills. You suspect he's waiting for the next crate too, silently hoping that if he says nothing, the machine will correct itself, that the supply will arrive, that the squad will start looking like soldiers again, instead of ghosts trying to remember how to stand upright. The third night, a fight breaks out over a crushed biscuit. No one wins. Both men end up curled against opposite trees, weeping in slow, even breaths. No one mocks them. You lie on your side in the dirt, staring at your fingers, watching them twitch. You try to flex them in rhythm. You fail. You think of Erich, weeks ago now, collapsing mid-salute, and wonder if he was just a sign of what was coming for all of you. By the fourth day, no one speaks unless forced. Marches become staggered. Formations fray. You walk behind Muller and watch him sway like a drunk man, rifle bouncing against his back, boots dragging with every step. You see outlines of people in the trees. You hear music in the wind. A voice that sounds like your mother's tells you to lie down and rest. You bite your tongue until it bleeds. You keep walking anyway. That evening you throw up 3 times in the snow. It's all bile and water, nothing solid. Your body has given up asking for food. You retch until your throat feels like sandpaper and your knees collapse under you. You fall, crawl a few feet into the trees and curl into the base of a crooked stump. Your coat is soaked through. You don't care. Your skin feels too tight. Your thoughts echo. Someone screams nearby. Then another voice, low, rhythmic, chanting something in a language no one understands. You don't move. You just let the sounds wash over you like water. You don't know how long you lie there. Minutes, hours, time folds. The cold gnaws, but you stop feeling it. The snow presses into your cheek. You watch it melt into a slick of mud and realise you're crying again. No sobs, no breath hitches, just silent tears sliding from your eyes, gathering in the dirt below your face. Then in the dark, you hear something different. Boots, boxes, voices with energy. A truck's engine, real, grinding, rough, coughing into a stall. You lift your head. Shapes move through the trees, not phantoms, not hallucinations. Real people, real weight. A crate thuds into the ground with the sound of dry wood and metal hinges. A new envelope is dropped next to your hand. No one says anything poetic. No one apologises. The quartermaster just shrugs and mutters, "Delayed in transit." You pick up the envelope with numb fingers. It crinkles the way you remember. You don't open it yet. Around you, others are already tearing theirs apart, downing the first pill with whatever liquid they can find. Snow, melted grease, spit. You hold yours a moment longer, because you know what comes next, because you remember how it feels, because part of you would rather disappear here in the dirt than take one more step toward becoming a machine again. But your hands are already moving, and the war isn't over, and you're still breathing. So you open it and swallow and wait for the effects to return. The pill goes down dry. Your throat burns, but you don't notice. Not really. Around you, men suck snow from their sleeves or chew it directly off the ground just to wash the bitterness away. A few lean forward on their rifles, eyes already glassy, waiting for the weight to lift. No one says a word. There's no cheer, no relief. Just a slow crawl back towards something like functioning. And when it hits, it's not like before. It doesn't bring clarity or energy or purpose. It just smooths over the panic, shaves the edge off the shaking, dulls the noise. Your heartbeat steadies, not comfortably, but mechanically, like a sputtering engine, forced back into rhythm. You blink and the world sharpens. The colours don't look right, but at least they hold still. You don't even get a full night to recover. Orders arrive just before dawn. A convoy's gone missing. The Russians are pushing back. You're to hold a town on the edge of something the lieutenant calls strategically vital, though no one bothers explaining why. The name of the town isn't familiar, and no one cares. It's a smear of frostbitten rooftops, a crumbling church tower, and a row of abandoned carts turned sideways for cover. When you arrive, the last unit is already retreating through the back road, their eyes hollow, their hands shaking in rhythm with yours. One man stumbles past without a helmet, a dirty bandage wrapped around his scalp, muttering that the trees scream now. The sergeant tells you to dig in. Hold the main road, fall back only if you get overrun. No one asks what qualifies as overrun. You just pick a wall to crouch behind and start checking your ammunition. Your fingers don't quite work right. You keep loading the same bullet twice. You bite your cheek until blood fills your mouth and hope that counts as focus. The first shell hits before you're ready. Not a direct hit, just near enough to lift a cloud of frozen dirt and snow, followed by splinters from the corner of a nearby stable. You throw yourself down behind a broken fence and wait for the ringing in your ears to fade. Then gunfire. Close, not sustained, just bursts, sharp, testing. You don't see the enemy until they're within 50 meters. Dark shapes moving through the tree line, rifles raised, hunched low. Your squad opens fire. You follow suit. You don't aim well, but the barrel doesn't shake as much this time. The Pervitin's doing its job. You feel calm, distant. You could be shooting at targets. You could be dreaming. A man beside you screams something guttural, fires without blinking, then drops when a round catches him in the chest. You don't turn your head. You already know he's gone. The town doesn't hold. It cracks. First the left flank folds, then the centre. Someone shouts to fall back, and for a second no one moves. Then it's a scramble, boots slipping in snow, fingers fumbling at belts and weapons, breath catching in clouds before your face. You run through a half-collapsed barn, out the back, across a ditch that's frozen over with a thin crust of ice. You hear the crack underfoot, but you don't stop. The shelling starts again. You keep moving. Your foot snags on barbed wire, hidden under loose straw. You fall hard, scraping your palms against stone. You hiss through your teeth, but crawl forward anyway, dragging your rifle until you can stand again. Someone grabs your sleeve and pulls you behind a stone wall. You don't see who it is. They vanish before you can thank them, or ask if they're real. The counterfire is heavier now. You don't know where your squad is. The air smells like wet metal and burning oil. You're ordered to form a new line behind the town's southern ridge. Hold here. Hold no matter what. It's not a suggestion. You nod because that's what you do. Your fingers are blistered from the cold, and you only have one glove. You don't remember losing the other. The Russians don't pause, they press. Another wave comes fast, louder, closer. This time, you fire into faces. This time, you see expressions. One man stares straight at you as he drops. You don't know if it was your shot. You don't know if it matters. Someone near you runs out of ammunition and throws a rock. Someone else grabs the dead man's rifle without hesitation. By dusk, your ears are ringing constantly, and your leg burns in a way you can't ignore. You didn't notice when it happened. A bullet? Shrapnel? You peel back your trousers and find blood, thick and black in the fading light. It doesn't hurt yet. The pill has your nerves too tightly wound, but your hand comes away sticky. You press a rag against it and tie it off with your belt. No time for better. When the sun finally disappears, the order comes to pull back, again. You retreat behind a ridge marked only by 3 broken trees and the rusted shell of a farming cart. You count heads, fewer than this morning. You're not sure who's missing. One of the bodies you recognise only by the shape of his scarf. You don't say his name. No one does. Your wound has started to throb. The numbness is wearing off. Your vision pulses when you shift your weight. But the march isn't over. It never is. The survivors are gathered. You're one of them. The sergeant limps down the line, pointing. You can walk, then walk. Can't. Stay. Supplies are behind the second ridge. We move now. You open your mouth to protest, then shut it. There's no use. Your leg screams with every step, but you keep moving. Someone grabs your shoulder from behind. Support, maybe. Or a push. Either way, you stumble forward and don't stop. You don't know the plan. You don't know if there is one. Your breath fogs in the cold. You watch it drift, fragile and grey. You're a ghost with a rifle. You see comrades freeze mid-step, eyes wide, legs buckling. No one stops to help. There's no time. There's no point. You keep going, because stopping means dying. Or worse, you're still marching. The leg stopped bleeding, the belt tourniquet holds mostly. The fabric turns stiff and black at the knot, and your thigh pulses like there's a heartbeat trapped inside it. No one asks how you're doing. The man beside you is missing 3 fingers and still hasn't slowed down. You keep pace, because that's what's expected. Because slowing down invites notice. And attention is dangerous now. Attention gets you reassigned. Or left behind. Your socks haven't been changed in 3 weeks. You stop trying to take them off. The last man who peeled his away brought half his skin with it. You remember the look on his face. Not pain, resignation, like he'd expected it. Like he knew his feet were already gone, and the sock was just a shroud. You keep yours on. Your teeth ache. Not when you bite, but constantly, all through the day and night. A low grinding pressure that lives beneath your molars and flares behind your eyes. You chew on hard bread and smoked meat when it's given, but only because not eating is worse. Your gums bleed when you do. You taste metal for hours afterward. One tooth near the back is loose. You keep poking it with your tongue. It hasn't fallen out yet, but it will. The pills keep coming. Not as often, not with the same urgency as before, but they're there. A fresh envelope in each ration pack. 4 white tablets, chalky and dry. You take them because you have to, not because you expect them to help anymore, but because your body no longer knows how to move without them. They don't make you feel strong. They just delay the feeling of collapse. They don't sharpen your mind. They quiet it. You crave that more than anything now. Silence inside your head. Your hands shake more than they used to, especially when reloading. You drop cartridges. You fumble your belt. One night, under low light, you misthread your own sling and nearly dislocate your shoulder, trying to fix it in time. No one offers to help. Everyone's too busy failing in their own quiet ways. Someone next to you keeps misfiring. Jittery hands, bad aim, too slow. The officer chews him out, calls him broken. He's gone the next day. No one asks where. Your coat smells like rot, not musty or damp, rotten. The armpits are stiff with old sweat, and the collar is crusted where blood from your split lips has dried into the fabric. Your boots squeak when wet, then freeze into stiff blocks of leather that grind the skin off your ankles. You've packed the gaps with old cloth, but it doesn't help. The blisters are deep now, layered. You don't look anymore. You just press your heel against the earth and hope the numbness holds. The cold has changed. It's no longer an external thing. It's inside you, under your ribs, behind your spine. Your breath fogs only faintly now. You wonder if that means something. You keep gloves on, even when they're wet, because the alternative is watching your fingers stiffen into grey claws. You saw that happen to another man. He reached out to catch himself when he slipped on the ice, and his fingers cracked like porcelain. The sergeant didn't even turn around. The medic sees you eventually. Not because you asked, but because you collapsed after a march and someone else dragged you to the back of a tent. He doesn't speak at first. Just pulls your coat open, checks your leg, frowns at the blackened skin around the old wound. He doesn't clean it. Just presses something foul-smelling to the gash and wraps it too tight. Then he notices your mouth. "Open," he says, not kindly. "You do." He clicks his tongue. "Rot in the gums." You don't respond. He doesn't ask how it feels. Doesn't offer antibiotics or painkillers or anything real. He pulls a tin from his pack, smears salve onto a bit of linen, and shoves it into your hand. "Use that at night, if you remember." You nod. As you stand to leave, he presses a new ration pack into your chest. It's light. Inside is a biscuit that smells like sawdust, a smear of pale grease sealed in wax paper, and the usual 4 white pills folded into a paper sleeve. "For strength," he says. His tone is flat, mechanical, like he said it 100 times and never once believed it. "For Germany," he adds, almost as an afterthought. He doesn't look at you. You step out of the tent into the wind. Snow has begun again, lightly, the kind that clings to the edges of your sleeves and melts slowly down your collar. You breathe in, cough once and feel the blood in your throat again. It doesn't surprise you. You haven't coughed clear in days. You walk past a few others, men like you, half limping, shoulders hunched, faces grey beneath their helmets. One is missing a glove and has wrapped his hand in torn uniform fabric. Another stares at a wall like he's forgotten what it is. You nod at one of them. He doesn't nod back. Maybe he didn't see you. Maybe he no longer sees anyone. You sit down near a broken supply sled, lean your back against it, and slowly unfold the paper sleeve with the pills inside. You hold one between your fingers for a long time, staring at the way it catches the light. Then you swallow it. Not for clarity, not for courage, just for silence. The pill settles in your stomach like chalk. You don't feel stronger, just a little less broken. The medic's tent disappears behind you as the column reforms. Looser now, uneven, as if the lines themselves have grown tired of pretending to be straight. You rejoin your squad in silence, falling into step beside men you no longer recognise by name, but only by limp or cough, or the way their eyes avoid yours. Someone mentions a new objective, but it's half swallowed by the wind. You don't ask for clarification. You just keep walking. The road is cracked and uneven. Snow has gathered in the ruts, frozen solid in some places, turned to slush in others. Your boots slip more often now, soles worn smooth, leather stiff with old moisture. Your coat hangs heavier than it used to. The grease from your ration has stained one pocket, and the hem is stiff with salt, and blood, and whatever else has soaked into it over the past few weeks. You stopped trying to clean it. You stopped thinking of it as something you'll ever take off. The first pile is small, 3 bodies half covered by a collapsed fence, one arm stretched out from beneath the boards. You nearly miss them. One of your squad calls it out. Germans, as if that clarifies something. You pause long enough to glance down. Same uniforms, same regulation boots, same belt pouches and insignia. One has a gas mask canister, still clipped to his hip, unopened. His face is frozen mid-expression. Not fear, just surprise. You keep walking. The next pile is larger, 8, maybe 10, stacked hastily beside the road, backs to the tree line, faces turned to the sky. You recognise the look now. Eyes open, unfocused, mouth slack. Some are missing gloves. One has no boots. Someone took them, probably one of your own. You don't blame them. A few look freshly dead. Others are already stiff, skin tinged purple under the cheeks. There are no tags, no markings, no names. Just the same grey wool, the same dead hands, the same open mouths. You're not marching in triumph. You're marching through the aftermath. Through the leftover noise of some failed push no one talks about. You pass a burned out truck that still stinks of oil and charred canvas. A field gun snapped in half like a toy. Shattered crates of ammunition strewn across a ditch, the wood splintered, the shells half buried in mud. No one stops to collect anything. You're not here to clean up. You're not here to avenge. You're here to move forward. Because forward is all anyone remembers how to do. The officer at the front of your column doesn't comment on the bodies. Neither does the sergeant. One of the newer men, a replacement, face still pink from cold, but not yet drawn, asks quietly, "What happened here?" No one answers. The silence afterward stretches too long. He doesn't ask again. As the day wears on, the piles become more frequent. Some bodies lie alone, curled against fences, slumped over crates, folded in on themselves, like they died trying to stay warm. Others are grouped in clusters, stacked like firewood, boots tangled together. You step around them, over them when necessary. The first time your foot grazes a dead man's leg, you pause, look down, murmur an apology you don't mean. The third time, you don't react at all. You begin to recognise yourself in them, not individually, but generally. Their faces look like yours, same stubble, same sunken cheeks, same bloodshot eyes that probably stared out through fog just like you did, half expecting something to end it all. You wonder if they felt the cold slipping up through their boots, if they knew how far they were from help, if they still had pills in their pockets when they went down. You wonder how long it took before someone stopped checking. There are no burial details, no markers, no signs of triage or evacuation. The corpses don't look looted, just discarded. Like whatever usefulness they had ended the moment their lungs stopped moving. One of them still grips a rifle. Another has his fingers locked around a letter, the paper half melted from snow. You look away before reading any of it. You already know what it says. They all say the same thing. You start noticing the crows again. You hadn't realised they'd returned. For weeks, the silence above had been total. Now they circle lazily overhead or perch on fence posts, watching from a distance. They don't scatter when you pass. They don't fear uniforms anymore. You see one hop across a helmet and peck at something beneath it. You turn your head before you see what. That night, you camp near a frozen stream. The ground is hard and the wind cuts through the trees like it's searching for someone. You press your back against a frost-covered rock and eat your ration slowly. 2 crackers, a tin smear of something unidentifiable, and the usual envelope. You take the pills without thinking. They taste the same, like control, like forgetting. You press your hands to your knees afterward and wait for the tremor to settle. No one builds a fire. There's nothing left to burn. One man hums to himself for a while, a tuneless little thing, low and shaking. He stops when another throws a rock in his direction. After that, the silence returns. In the dark, you picture the faces from the road again. Not because you want to, but because they're still there, fixed behind your eyes like they've been etched into the back of your skull. You imagine what they were thinking when it happened. If it was quick, if it hurt, if they saw it coming. You hope it was a shell, something fast, not starvation, not frostbite, not bleeding out in a trench no one remembered to check. In the morning, the wind smells like sulphur. The officer says they're moving the line again, that you're to sweep forward and secure an abandoned artillery position. He says the words like they mean something, like they'll make a difference. No one responds. The squad stands and falls into motion without command. You pass another body on the road, frozen in place beside a tree. He's slumped at an odd angle, face tilted upward, like he saw something just before it hit him. His coat is open. His mouth is full of snow. His eyes are still open. You stare at him longer than you should. You feel something twist in your chest. Then it passes. You realise, quietly and completely, that no one cares what uniform you wear once you're dead. Not the crows, not the trucks, not the officer who gave you your name and number. You are a shape in the road, a delay in the march, a weight someone else will choose to step around. And when it's your turn, you'll lie there too, just another body in the wrong place at the wrong time, wearing the wrong badge in a war that forgot its own name. The next place you stop isn't marked on any map you can recall. A hollow between trees ringed with broken fencing and a rusted cart turned on its side. The front is quiet here, not finished, just still. No shelling, no rifles, no wind. Even the birds have gone silent again, as if waiting to see what happens next. The officer mutters that there'll be movement in the morning. For now, you're told to rest. The word doesn't register at first. Rest. You haven't heard it spoken like that in weeks. Not barked, not conditional, just given. No one moves immediately. Everyone looks at each other, then at the trees, like it might be a trick. Then slowly, they sit. You choose a log near the edge of the clearing. The bark is damp. You don't care. You sit anyway, boots wide, arms resting on your knees, head bowed. You realise you're tired in places you didn't know could feel exhaustion. Not just muscles or bones, but thought, memory, identity. You feel like an empty shell that still remembers it used to be full. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to remove one more layer of sensation. The silence presses in. You try to remember how long it's been since the last firefight, since the last death, since the last time someone said your name like it meant something. You think of your sister, or try to. Her name is gone, not just on the tip of your tongue, erased. You see her face, sort of, a blurred outline. Maybe brown hair, maybe blonde, maybe that's someone else. You try to remember what her voice sounded like, and the only thing that comes is static, the same tone you hear in your head when you try to sleep. You try harder, and your temples throb in protest. You look down at your hands. They're still trembling faintly, the way they always do now, when the pill wears thin. But it's more than that. You turn them palm up. You stretch your fingers. They feel like someone else's. The scars don't match any memory. The dirt under the nails is permanent. You hold them close to your face, and for a second, you wonder if you died already. Maybe back in that town, maybe in the ditch, maybe the bullets hit and no one noticed. Maybe the pills just haven't caught up yet. A breeze picks up and moves through the trees, but it doesn't feel like wind. It feels like breath, like the forest exhaling. You rub your eyes with the back of your hand and try to refocus. The clearing is still full of your squad, but they're scattered now. Some sit, heads down. Some lie flat. No one talks. You're not sure they're all awake, or alive, or real. For a moment, you're convinced this is a hallucination. The kind that happens right before you go under for good. You try to recall the name of the last town you marched through. The one with the dead Germans beside the road. You picture the street, the piles of bodies, the rusted vehicle shell. But no name comes. You try the town before that, nothing. Then the one before, nothing again. You can remember the colour of a door frame, the sound a frozen canteen made when it rolled across cobblestones, the smell of burning meat and oil, but not one name. You stand up and stretch your legs. The bones in your left foot crack. You limp over to the edge of the clearing and kneel beside a stump. There's a beetle moving slowly across the bark. It looks as tired as you feel. You watch it for longer than you mean to. Then you say your own name under your breath. Just once, to test it. It feels wrong in your mouth, like a borrowed phrase, like something you learned phonetically, but never understood. You sit again. The sun is barely visible through the branches, casting a sickly grey over everything. You watch dust float in the air, tiny particles catching light. You think for a moment that they look like ash. Then you remember they probably are. Someone nearby laughs, short and sharp. You look over. It's Muller. He's staring at a piece of tin he's bent into the shape of a hook. He laughs again and mutters something you don't catch. No one responds. You wonder if anyone else heard it. You wonder if he did. You rub your temples. The pills are still in your pocket. You haven't taken one yet. You're trying to hold off, trying to see what's underneath it all. But the longer you sit here, the less you trust your own mind. You keep seeing movement between the trees, a hand behind a trunk, a figure crouched low, a flash of white. But when you blink, there's nothing. You've lost the ability to trust your eyes, or your thoughts, or anything that doesn't hurt. The hour passes slowly, though you have no watch to confirm it. Eventually the officer walks through the clearing, arms crossed, lips tight, saying nothing. He pauses to kick someone lightly with his boot. The man stirs, groans, sits up. Another is missing. No one mentions him. You lean forward, resting your elbows on your thighs. You take the pills from your pocket and count them. 4, standard. You put them back without swallowing one, just to prove you can, just to test your own will. The silence has grown too large now. It stretches across your thoughts like fog, muffling everything except the whisper at the centre of your skull that keeps asking what the point of all this is. And for the first time, you realise you no longer believe the war is real. Not in the way people mean it. Not in the way it's printed in newspapers or etched on medals or shouted in speeches. Maybe it was real once, but now it's something else, something vague, repetitive, an engine that forgot why it was built but still turns, grinding flesh into mud for reasons no one explains anymore. You try to remember what country you're in. You try to remember what year it is. You try to remember why you're still alive. None of the answers come. Only the silence, only the static, only the faint buzz beneath your ribs as the next pill calls your name. It's not a dramatic wound. No final stand. No blinding flash of heroism. Just a step. One unlucky step. The ground caves in slightly beneath your boot, and the blast lifts you sideways before you even register the sound. For a moment, you're weightless. The horizon tilts. Your helmet flies off and vanishes into the smoke. Then the world folds in on itself. You don't scream. You don't even feel it at first. Just a hot, wet pressure along your side. You try to move. but your leg won't respond. You look down and see red soaking through your coat in a slow spreading bloom. The pain comes later, sharp, jagged, every breath dragging barbed wire through your ribs. You try to crawl, but there's nothing to push against, just broken mud and crumbling frost and the faint scent of cordite and blood. Someone shouts, maybe your name, maybe not. A pair of boots rush past, then another. You raise a hand, but it trembles too much to hold still. No one stops. No one even looks down. The unit keeps moving forward, always forward, like they were trained to. And you stay where you are, half buried in churned earth, your breath fogging in the air, then thinning. Time blurs. You fade in and out. Your fingers twitch, then go numb. Your mouth tastes of iron and ash. You hear gunfire nearby, then farther off, then not at all. A shape passes in the distance. A medic, maybe. But he's busy. He doesn't slow. You're not worth the bandage, not with that much red showing. You think about raising your voice, calling out. But to who? There's no one left who remembers your real name. Not here, just your number, your uniform, your dosage, your assignment. And now, not even that. You press your hand to the wound, but there's no pressure left in your arms. You're cold. Not the kind of cold you can walk off or shake out of your boots. This is inside you, deep, slow, final. You try to take a deep breath, but your chest stutters. You cough, wet, pink, and then you know. It's not a question anymore. It's not a possibility. It's happening. You think about your sister's name again. You still can't remember it. You try to picture your house, the street, your mother's laugh, all gone, smudged like charcoal on wet paper. You try to pray, but the words feel foreign, hollow syllables from a childhood you barely trust. And anyway, you're not sure who you'd be praying to. No God showed up here. Above you, clouds shift slowly, grey on grey. Somewhere behind them is a sky you'll never see again. You blink, once, twice. The edges of the world go soft. Sound dims. Your heartbeat slows, then stops. And just like that, you're not marching anymore. Your body stays where it fell. Face half buried in the mud. Hand curled toward nothing. You don't get a burial. There's no time, no priest, no flag, no name etched in stone. Just a shape in a uniform that looks like everyone else's. After a few hours, your coat gets stripped by another soldier whose sleeves tore in the frost. Your boots are taken too. You don't need them anymore. By morning, the frost has frozen your body in place. A crust of rime gathers on your hair, your lashes, the crease of your collar. Someone walks past and steps over your leg without noticing. They don't look down. You are disposable. You always were. And now, finally, you are disposed of. That brings us to the end of tonight's story. A nameless conscript handed pills and a rifle who marched into snow, smoke, and silence until even memory forgot him. Just another cog ground to dust beneath a machine that promised glory and delivered nothing but frostbite and erasure. If you'd like early access to more of these slow, unravelling histories, ad-free audio of the episodes, or just want to support the show, there's a link to the Patreon in the description. Feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a comment with other forgotten lives and overlooked tragedies you'd like to see explored. If you're listening on a podcast app, a rating or review helps more people find their way to these stories. And special thanks to the supporters who make this show possible, including our chroniclers Andrew S., Amanda Lamke, and Rich Davis. Sleep well.